The heads of Facebook, Twitter, and Google are just minutes away from facing lawmakers on Capitol Hill over their platform's role in helping spread and promote extremism and misinformation. It comes just one day after 12 Democratic state attorneys general sent letters to Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey urging them to curb misinformation related to coronavirus vaccines. So for more on this, let's bring in CBSN technology reporter Dan Patterson. Dan, what are you hoping to hear from these big tech CEOs today?
Hey, Anne-Marie. So we're expecting the House Judiciary Committee's antitrust subcommittee to ask tech leaders a few questions, mostly about how harmful dis and misinformation propagate across these social networks. But we also expect to hear a little bit about Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act, which in a nutshell means that tech platforms are not liable for the content that users post on the platform. This has been pretty controversial of late, but it's also, according to the EFF, has been instrumental in the rise of social networks like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and others. We'll probably hear a little grandstanding about how big tech platforms are and how much power they have. And then I think that we'll probably hear quite a bit about the 2020 election and the January 6th insurrection and how disinformation propagated across social networks prior to those events.
Dan, lawmakers, as you know, are likely to bring up misinformation, as you pointed out, surrounding the election and the assault on the Capitol. The pro-Trump extremists who stormed the building were found to have organized on social media platforms weeks in advance. So how have these CEOs responded in recent weeks to the roles of their platforms, and do you expect Congress to try to hold them accountable for it?
Yeah, Vlad, this is a really important question. So earlier this year, as reported by Catherine Herridge and Graham Cates here at CBS News, we found that Twitter banned a few 100,000 accounts from the harmful QAnon conspiracy. Facebook and YouTube were a little slower to react, but they also banned QAnon accounts. But we should say that a lot of QAnon is pretty easy to still find on all three of these platforms. In fact, just moments before we went live, I found QAnon stuff on all of those platforms. We'll probably hear a lot of hand-wringing about the delicate balance between free speech and the damage that can be caused by disinformation and propaganda. So it is a delicate balance, and we'll probably hear a lot of arguing about potential solutions.
A nonprofit organization released a report recently on Facebook, and it says that the social network could have prevented more than 10 billion views on its platform from top-performing pages that had a reputation for spreading information. What can you tell us about this organization and just how it came to this number, and how significant are these findings?
Yeah, so this is an organization called Avaz. They look into dis and misinformation on social networks. They're fairly reputable. And they said that they also provided their findings to Facebook's Andy Stone and haven't heard back from them. So I'm going to look at my notes here, but it's pretty stunning. They say that according to their data, they found evidence of 267 pages and groups with a combined following of 32 million that spread violence-glorifying content in the heat of the 2020 election, and that many of these pages are still active. The same report found that Facebook could have prevented up to, get this, 10.1 billion estimated views on pages that shared harmful dis and misinformation if the platform had just tweaked their algorithm in March of 2020 instead of in the final weeks before the election. And they uncovered that there was evidence that the top 100 most popular false or misleading stories on Facebook related to the 2020 elections received an estimated, get this, 162 million views. Again, they provided this information to Facebook, who have not responded to this data.
You recently interviewed, Dan, some prominent figures in social media, including Rappler's Maria Ressa. For those unaware, of course, Rappler is a Philippine online news website that started as a Facebook page. She explained how, quote, Facebook is a behavior modification system. Really, really interesting. Talk us through her thoughts on social media and what she means by that.
Yeah, so Maria Ressa is a well-respected journalist who is kind of a hero of mine because she has done really important reporting on the Duterte regime in the Philippines. This is a country that has a constitution that is modeled after the United States Constitution, but Ressa, since the beginning of her reporting, has been the target of thousands of posts that are kind of range from death threats to misleading information and false information about her that has then resulted in her speech being amended and restricted. Her travel has been restricted, as well as a number of other freedoms. The big takeaway from what Maria has to tell us is that what happened in the Philippines can potentially happen here in the United States. And she saw kind of the beginnings of this with what we call the big lie, the false allegations that the election was stolen. It resembles what she said, very similar language to what happened in the Philippines.
You also talked to former Facebook advisor Roger McNamee about how social media disinformation is reshaping the world we know. Let's listen to a little bit of what he had to say.
Facebook has 2.7 billion different channels. So each user has his or her own Truman Show. We live in a world right now where people can have an entire worldview based on things that aren't true. And that is not their fault. This has been done to them. It's not because people are stupid. It's not because they aren't sincere. It's because people with bad intentions have consciously manipulated.
So how can we keep the American public safe from these, conspiracy theories, I guess, hate speech, disinformation? It spreads like wildfire online, and I know there's been a lot of conversations about the algorithms, and that the algorithms push this information sort of in front of us. But, there's also the argument about free speech and having some agency about where you choose to find the information you want to read.
Yeah, so McNamee's argument is that you don't actually have a lot of choice in this, and that the algorithms that we talked about a moment ago with Avaz push people into silos because these silos garner engagement. And so what we think is free speech is actually algorithmic bias pushing us into things that might appeal to us, but appeal to our very base emotions because they drive, once again, engagement. This engagement is what advertisers that pay Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and others really value. So what McNamee is saying when he says our own Truman Show is that every user of Facebook lives within a silo of information that is not beneficial to them, but instead is designed to benefit Facebook instead. Keep you on Facebook, and as a result, it really values the spread of mis and disinformation instead of democratic ideals. So once again, we can talk about free speech, but McNamee is saying that you don't have free speech, you don't have agency because you don't have access to these algorithms.
You also spoke with Cambridge Analytica whistleblower Chris Wiley. He broke down some of his suggestions on regulation. What did those entail, and what do you think they are thinking about when we look ahead to today's hearing?
Yeah, so Wiley was banned from Facebook for blowing the whistle on Cambridge Analytica. This was a company during the 2016 election that exploited Facebook user data and pumped, once again, disinformation at users designed to advance President Trump. So Wiley says that, hey, look, it's not really a matter of free speech. Think about an elevator. We're not restricting how high buildings can go unless they're unsafe. So if you have an elevator that is unsafe or a building that is too tall simply because it's poorly constructed, well, we have regulations designed to prevent those things from happening. We just need to make sure that we test elevators, we test buildings, and we make sure that the material that it's built with can support people. The same thing with social networks, Wiley says. We need to make sure that algorithms and that social networks that really operate at large scale are safe before they go live.
So in his opening statement, Mark Zuckerberg is expected to call on Congress to change Section 230 of the 1996 Communications Decency Act. What is this, and why does he want it changed?
Yeah, so Section 230, once again, is a regulation, and we have an explainer up on CBS News if you want to read all the nuts and bolts, but it's a regulation that really helped build the internet as we know now, because it says that tech platforms are not liable for the content posted by users. Now, we have seen a lot of content posted by users who exploit the algorithms on these platforms to gain scale. So what we expect Zuckerberg to say is that he kind of wants to change Section 230 so that disinformation and misinformation, as long as these tech platforms have systems in place to catch it, is not really their fault, or they can't be held liable for it. And when Zuckerberg says systems in place, he means two things: artificial intelligence and human moderators. They say, and Facebook says, as well as Google and YouTube, that AI looks for keywords, phrases, connections between people, and then it can either minimize the impact by suppressing posts or removing posts that are harmful altogether. Then they rely on human moderators to look at some of the worst, most harmful content. I mean, really terrible stuff that you or I never want to see. They rely on these human moderators, many of whom are paid a very low wage, according to reporting by The Verge and others, to actively remove this content. So once again, Zuckerberg will present today this idea that as long as we have these platforms in place, we have these human moderators and artificial intelligence systems, that we shouldn't be held liable, and you should change Section 230.
Dan, do we expect QAnon to be a focus of this hearing?
I would be shocked if QAnon was not mentioned at the hearing today.
And so so I guess the question becomes, what would be the thrust of the discussion given the events of January the 6th?
Well, the harmful QAnon conspiracy is now actively pushing this idea that there is no QAnon there. This is something that was constructed by the media, and really we are peaceful patriots who are just trying to ask questions. At the same time, QAnon exists. They are incredibly violent, and they actively push disinformation at incredibly large scale. In fact, earlier today, or early in the segment, I mentioned that Twitter had removed a couple of accounts. They said this was under 100,000, but when Catherine Herridge and Graham Cates reported on it, Twitter admitted to, no, we banned over 160,000 of these QAnon accounts. So what we'll probably see is these social media platforms try to minimize the scale of harm, while we probably will also see lawmakers grandstand and talk about how powerful these tech platforms are. Look for the language misinformation to be used pretty regularly, but almost all tech researchers and information researchers use the term disinformation when it comes to QAnon. The reason for that is that misinformation is accidental and uncoordinated. It is, for example, my neighbor said it's going to be raining today. I went outside and it's sunny. That's misinformation. I was misinformed. But disinformation is when groups actively push memes or false information in the hopes of amplifying propaganda that can harm or persuade people into believing bad information, like, for example, the election was stolen. It was not stolen, but QAnon actively pushes this idea. So I think we'll see a lot of tension around this discussion today.